recitation of in morning prayer. This would be half the length of a noon prayer if that recitation was long, or the same length if it was short. If it was short. The recitation in the sunset prayer. The Prophet would recite different surahs in the sunset prayer on different days.
There we go. That's exactly it. We're talking about the recitation in the noon prayers. He would sometimes make the recitation lengthy. The Prophet used to do this. Abu Sa'id also said, while he was standing in the noon prayer, one could go to al Baqiyah and take care of some matter, return to his family, make ablution, return, and still find the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the first rak'ah. Imagine the time. Baqiyah is a place, by the way, okay, and it's considered like far. Okay, so imagine if somebody goes far away, okay, and then he meets his family, and then he makes ablution, and then he returns back to the Prophet. Let's say 2 kilometers or 1 kilo meter away from the Prophet, and he's still in the first rak'ah. So that means what? How, let's say, how many minutes or how lengthy would the prayer be if he's doing all of these actions and all these activities and return back to the Prophet and he finds him, still doing the first rak'ah with his people. So could go to Baqiyah and then take care of some matter, return to his family, make ablution, return to the Prophet, and find him the same way as he was in the first rak'ah due to the length of his recital. So that is an approval that the Prophet, or that proves that the Prophet ﷺ was doing a lengthy prayer at noon. Okay, the noon prayer was a bit lengthy. It wasn't as short as you might expect. So he would sometimes recite all of Alif Lam Mim. Wow. Tanzil, or Alif Lam Mi, or Alif Lam, or sometimes Al Buruj, or Surah Al Tariq. And if it's the case, if it was Surah Al Tariq or Al Buruj, then my friend, it has to be a bit quick because you already know Surah Al Buruj, correct?
Yeah.
And Surah Al Tariq, والسماء والطارق وما أدراك
No,
ما
not that one, not
الطارق.
that one.
ثاقب. Okay, you might not really be familiar with it yet. However, it's a small surah. It's less than a page. It's shorter than a page. So, would you read this part?
Let me see. Wait, which one?
This one right there.
Um,
The
the
recitation.
second, sometimes he'll recite Al-Araf in the two rakats, and
Surah
sometimes
Al-Araf is a pretty. It's almost like 23 pages.
Al-Mursala says Abu Umar ibn Abdul Bar. It's believed that Prophet, upon him be peace, recite Al-Araf or As-Safat or Hamim Dan or Al-Ala or Ad-Din or last two surahs Al-Mufassir. All of that is related to authentic chains. The
MashaAllah.
Marwan
Listen to
ibn al-Hakim used to do this, and Zayd ibn Thabit objected to it. He said, "What is wrong with you that you always recite one of the short surahs from Al-Mufassir during sunset prayer? I have seen the Prophet upon him be peace reciting along the chapter therein."
What do you get so far? I don't want you to only read, but I need you to get an idea. The recitation in the sunset prayer, the Prophet, let me have this. Okay, give me a sec. Let's do this. There we go. Now you see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, here it says, the recitation in the sunset prayer. The Prophet would recite different surahs in the sunset prayer on different days. Sometimes he would recite Al-A'raf in the two rakas, and sometimes Al-Tur, and sometimes Al-Mursalat. And Al-Mursalat is a pretty easy and short, uh, relatively to the other surahs, of course. Says Abu Omar ibn Abdul Bar, it is related that the Prophet recited Al-A'raf or As-Saffat or Hamim, Dukhan, and it just depends or the last two surahs of the Mufassal, all of that is related through authentic chains of hadith. Okay. Okay. So it's sometimes, okay, I wouldn't really give you like one sentence that he was performing lengthy prayers in the sunset prayers, and I wouldn't say that it was short. It was sometimes, it was sometimes short, sometimes lengthy, you know. That's how the Prophet did it. The recitation in the night prayer, and by the way, let me tell you this really important. In order for you to, because sometimes this happens to you when you perform the prayer, and sometimes you are like, oh my God, like I did something wrong once you finish, or oh my God, like I'm not really sure if it was like 3 rakas or 4 rakas that I did. Haven't you ever haven't you
Yeah.
ever had such a thing before?
Uh-huh.
Seriously,
Yeah.
right? So why? You know why this happens? Because it became like a routine. And you need to change that routine by reciting different surahs sometimes in order to be more focused, in order to pay attention to your prayer. Sometimes I do this myself. This is how you focus on the prayer because you don't want to make mistakes. And at the same time, you are gonna be like, you know what? I did at the very beginning, I did this surah in the first rak'ah, and that surah in the second rak'ah, you can't tell. And then the third and the fourth, it became easy now. Now you know how many rak'ahs you performed. Okay, but if it became like a routine and you don't know like what surahs basically you recited because you didn't really give or you didn't really pay attention that much to the prayer you're performing, the prayer would be messy, and you don't want that. So you also would like to feel it. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's what you do. Here, it says the recitation in the night prayer. I need you to read this part. You can go. Would you go?
Okay. In the recitation of the night prayer, in the night prayer, the Prophet would recite a deen, and he taught Muad to recite Ashams al-Ala
What do
al-Layl
you
and
mean?
so on.
What do you mean regarding this? How did he do it?
He taught him. He taught
Hmm?
Muad.
I said, how did he do it? How did he do with the night prayer, if I would ask?
He would recite a deen.
Hmm. And he, carry on. I'm not hearing nothing.
Then he taught Muad to recite Ashams al-Layl and so on. He objected to Muad reciting al-Baqarah at that time. After the prayer, he went to the prize of Amr ibn Auf, and when the part of the night had passed, he
He
repeated his
repeated his
prayer
prayer.
and recited al-Baqarah there. On being informed about him, the Prophet said to him, Muad, are you the one who puts people into hardships?
Hmm. The Prophet wants to ease this for the people. Um, he doesn't want to make or see people struggling while they are praying. The recitation in the Friday prayer. He would recite al-Jum'ah, al-Munafiqun, or sometimes al-Ghashiyah in their complete forms as they are. He completes it, reciting the surah. Or al-A'la or al-Ghashiyah, he never recited just the ending of some surahs, which begin with, O you who believe. Surah Al-Jum'ah, for example, those who insist on doing so every Friday are not following the Sunnah. Okay, so it gives us something here. Okay, when you're doing the Friday prayer, okay, the recitation, you should just like do it or recite it in their complete forms. He never recited just the ending of some surahs and that's it. No, he just recites the whole surah in their complete forms as it says, and that's when you have intention to imitate the Prophet, you're going to take the reward of doing the sunan or the sunnah that the Prophet used to do. The recitation in the two Eids, really important. Would you go? This is this. And I know that you don't have a lot of surahs for you, like in your mind, that you did not memorize lots of these big surahs. I'm talking about big, lengthy surahs. You don't have to say it. You don't have to recite it in the prayer. If it's hard for you and it becomes harsh and it's hard work and it puts you into harsh hardship, you don't have to do it. As the Prophet sometimes did lengthy surahs and some other times did short surahs. So it's not the case. Here it says what? Let me show you. We can just skip this part here. I think you did a pretty good job of knowing what that is. Reciting a specific surah, the Prophet ﷺ did not confine his recitation of the Quran in prayers or to some specific surahs. He would just recite whatever, he thinks of. Lengthen the first rakah of the morning prayer. It's not a must how the Prophet would recite the Quran. Oh, you read this part. Chair.
Would draw out his voice over the long vowels, has at the end of every verse, and elongate his voice with the recital. This ends a section that has been taken from the writings of Ibn al-Qayyim.
Ibn al-Qayyim. Okay, the writings of Ibn al-Qayyim. Okay, that was a really successful like imam in Ahl al-Sunnah, in the world of Ahl al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What is preferred to be done during the recitation? It is Sunnah to make one's voice beautiful. All that, okay, we already know what it is. It's a priority for the one who recites surahs while performing the prayer. It is almost essential for him to have a beautiful voice. Okay, you are most likely pushing people to pray. You are not making them avoid going to the mosque. But anyway, I think that's it, really. Hopefully you enjoyed. It was all about the prayers. Thank you so much for revising the part of the tajweed with me. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Okay?
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. Bye.